Okay. Madhava Kunjabihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridvaradhari Jayadvaita Madhava Kunjabihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridvaradhari Jai Prabhupada Jasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Prabhupada 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 Gurudev 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 Jayam Swavishnupad Paramahamsa Parivigacharya Stolz of the divine grace of by the Charivinda Bhaktivinoda Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nanda Gauri Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jayadvaita Girara Shivasari Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Maravadar Gopa Gopanath Chama Kundi Radha Kundi Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Ram Ki Jai, Gangamaya Ki Jai, Jamunamaya Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Haribo. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Jai Gaji Maharaj Ki Jai.
Thank you, Adipurusha Prabhu. Maharaj, we can't hear you. I think you're muted.
I was unmuted now.
Thank you.
Now unmuted. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.15. Priyavrata namasuto mano swayam bhavasya yaha tasyagnidras tato nabhir rishabhas tatsutaha smritaha. Swayambhuva Manu had a son named Maharaj Priyavrat, and among Priyavrata's sons was Agnidra. From Agnidra was born Nabhi, whose son was known as Rishabhadev. Purport: the genealogical background of the sons of Rishabhadev is given in this verse. the Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurn Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Tadhati Shapadantikam Pandehang Shri Guru Shri Jatapadakamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lolita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kam Shana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prashabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hori Priye Vansha Kolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. On the previous verse, King Rishabdev was mentioned, and we've now heard a little bit about his genealogical background. And in the next verse, who is Rishabdev? That we'll hear. Tamahur Vasudevangsham Moksha Dharma Vivakshaya Avatirnam Sutra Shatam Tasyasid Brahma Paragam. Sri Rishabdev is accepted as an expansion of the Supreme Lord, Vasudev. He incarnated in this world to propagate those religious principles that lead living entities to ultimate liberation. He had 100 sons, all perfect in Vedic knowledge. So Vasudeva Angsham, he is a Angsha, a plenary expansion of Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Avatirna, he descended from the spiritual world. Moksha Dharma Vivakshaya, with the desire to teach Moksha Dharma. There's various kinds of Dharma, Dharmartha, Kama, religious principles aimed at gradual advancement. But the culmination is moksha, or ultimately, going back to Godhead, moksha hitvanyata rupam svarupena vyavastati. Moksha means hitvanyata rupam, to give up this superficial physical and mental form, and swarupena vyavastati, to be situated in one's real form, one's eternal form, in the service of Krishna. So all of his sons perfectly assimilated the Vedic knowledge. Tesham vai bharato jyeshto narayana parayanaha vikyatam varshame tadyan namna bharatam adbhutam. Of the 100 sons of Lord Rishabdev, the eldest, Bharat, was completely devoted to Lord Narayan. It is because of Bharat's fame that this planet is now celebrated as the great Bharatvarsha. From the 5th canto, we'll find the that Bhumandala, or the Earth planetary system, is divided into 9 varshas, 9 tracts of land. And the tract of land on which we're situated is known as Bharatvarsha. So here it's said that this Bharatvarsha has been named after the eldest son of Rishabdev, Bharat Maharaj. There are various Bharats in Vedic or Indian history. One is the son of Dushmanta, from whom Arjuna is descended, and is therefore known as descendant of Bharata. Another is the brother of Lord Ramchandra, and here the son of Rishabdev is also known as Bharat. And the Bhagavatam says that this planet is known as Bharatvarsha because of him. Jeshto, he was the seniormost, and Narayana Parayana. He was simply devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan. Narayana Parayana. And Adbhutam, he was a wonderful devotee, a wonderful king. Supukta bhogam chakve mam nirgatas tapasa harim upasinas tatpadavim lebhe vai janranabhistribihi. King Bharat rejected this material world, considering all types of material pleasure temporary and useless. Leaving his beautiful young wife and family, he worshipped Lord Hari by severe austerities and attained the abode of the Lord after 3 lifetimes. Purport: the complete narration of the 3 lives of Bharat as a king, as a deer, and as an exalted Paramhamsa devotee of the Lord is given in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Here it said, Supukta Bhogam Chakva Imam. He gave up all the pleasures of this world. Darasutam, in the 5th canto it said that he gave up, he had a beautiful wife, children, royal sovereignty, and he gave up everything just as one gives up stool after passing it. He had no interest in this material enjoyment. Then the history is given of his 3 lifetimes, how he was first born as the son of Rishabdev, and how because of attraction to a deer, he was deviated from his yoga practice. He had given up everything to devote himself to attainment of perfection, Krishna consciousness. But then, by some happenstance, he was distracted. And so he thought of a deer at the time of death and became a deer. But that deer was Krishna conscious. That even though he'd deviated, he remembered that in my last life I was King Bharat. Now I'm taken birth as a deer. So he took the opportunity to associate with sages, and in the next life he was born as Jayadvaita, again born in a royal family, but he feigned being foolish, incapable, so that he wouldn't have to associate with any materialistic engagements. And then, after the third birth, he went back home, back to Godhead. The Neha Bikramanashosti Pratyavayo Navidyate Swalpamapyasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahato Bhayat. There's no loss in Krishna consciousness, even if one doesn't attain perfection in one life. That just a little bit of devotional service can save one from the greatest danger. Tyaktva Sadharmam Charanam Bhujam Harer. Narad Muni in the first canto tells Vyasadeva that even if one gives up everything, all of one's duties, for the sake of serving the lotus feet of Krishna, and then somehow falls down because of being immature in Krishna consciousness, still there's no loss for him. And that's seen in the life of Bharat, or in the three lives of King Bharat. And one who performs all of his duties perfectly, but doesn't become Krishna conscious, loses everything. He's wasting his time. Tesham Navanavadvipa Patayosya Samantataha Karma Tantra Pranedara Ekashitir Vijatayaha. 9 of the remaining sons of Rishabdev became the rulers of the 9 islands of Bharatvarsha, and they exercised complete sovereignty over this planet. 81 sons became twice-born Brahmins and helped initiate the Vedic path of fruitive sacrifices, Karmakanda. Purport: the 9 Dvipas, or islands, ruled by 9 sons of Rishabdev, are the 9 Varshas of Jambu Dvip, namely Bharata, Kinnara, Hori, Kuru, Hiranmaya, Ramyaka, Ilavruta, Bhadrashva, and Ketumala. It's significant here that of the 100 sons of King Rishabdev, some became Brahmins, some became Kshatriyas. Bharat was transcendentally situated. Then 9 were rulers of the different Varshas. And then, how many? 89? 81 became Brahmins, although they were the son of a Kshatriya, the sons of a Kshatriya. So their status as Brahmin or Kshatriya was not decided simply by birth in a particular family. It was by their inclination, by their qualification, and by what they actually did with their lives. One may claim to be a Brahmin, but if he's not living as a Brahmin, then what is the meaning of that claim? One may claim to be a kshatriya, but if he's not performing the duties of a kshatriya, then what does it mean that he's a kshatriya? So guna karma vibhaga, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that these one's standing in a particular division depends on one's qualities and the activities one actually performs, not on birth. And that's confirmed by Narada to Yudhisthira Maharaj, that if someone's born in the family of a Brahmin, but he has the qualities of a Shudra, then he's a Shudra. And if one is born in the family of Shudras, but he has Brahminical qualifications, then he's a Brahmin. Navad bhavan mahabhaga muniyo yarta sangshinaha shramana vata rasana atmavidya visharadaha kavir havir antariksha prabuddha pipalayanaha avirhotrota jumilash shamasa kadabhajana. The 9 remaining sons of Rishabh were greatly fortunate sages who worked vigorously to spread knowledge of the absolute truth. They wandered about naked and were very well versed in spiritual science. Their names were Kavi, Havir, Antariksha, Prabuddha, Pipalayana, Avirhotra, Drumila, Chamas, and Kadabhajana. Purport. Nimi, so these sages, 9 sages, are known as the Navayogendras, 9 Yogendras, masters of yoga. Nimi, the king of Videha, asked the following 9 questions of the 9 Yogendras, the saintly sons of Rishabha. 1. What is the highest good? And chapter verse numbers are given here, but I'm not going to read them because we're not going to look them up right now. What is the highest good? 2. What are the religious principles? Dharma, natural proclivities, swabhava, behavior, achara, speech, vakya, and outward symptoms, lakshana, of a Bhagavata, a Vaishnav devotee of the Lord. 3. What is the external energy of Vishnu, the Supreme Lord? 4. How can one become dissociated from this Maya? 5. What is the true identity of Brahma? 6. What are the 3 types of karma, namely karma based on the enjoyment of the fruits of work, karma offered to the Supreme Lord, and Naishkarmya? 7. What are the various pastimes of the various incarnations of God? 8. What is the aim or destination of one who is against the Supreme Lord and devoid of bhakti? In other words, a non-devotee. And 9. What are the respective colors, forms, and names of the 4 Yugavatars, the 4 incarnations of the Supreme Lord who appear in the 4 ages? And what is the process of worshipping each of them? The transcendental answers to these inquiries were given by the great devotees Kavi, Havir, Antariksha, Prabuddha, Pipalayana, Avirhotra, Drumila, Chamas, and Kadabhajana. These 9 Paramahansas answered the 9 questions, each in turn, in the following verses. And then there's a list of the verses, and again, I'm not going to read them because we're not going to look them up. these sages are mentioned. Mahabhaga, greatly fortunate, and Artasankshanaha, engaged in discriminating what is the absolute truth and explaining the absolute truth, the highest truth. Artasankshanaha. And Shramanaha, they were vigorous. They exerted great endeavor for understanding and explaining the absolute truth. It's not that sages are just inactive and they cruise around, but they have work to do. They have a great mission to understand the absolute truth and to distribute understanding of the absolute truth. And it's also said, Atmavidya Visharadaha. Atmavidya means the spiritual science, spiritual education, spiritual knowledge. And Visharada. Visharad means expert. They weren't beginners, journeymen in the craft of spiritual science. They were expert. Atma-vidya. The Adhyatma-vidya vidyanam in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that there are many different kinds of education, but Atma-vidya, there's Jada-vidya, scientific knowledge of material things, dull things, and Atma-vidya, scientific knowledge of the soul within the body. Jada-vidya concerns the container, the vehicle, the machine, yantra, and Atma-vidya concerns the person, the soul within the machine. When Srila Prabhupada spoke at MIT, I happened to be there, and he posed this question to the students that there are so many departments of knowledge here, but where is that department of knowledge for discerning the difference between the living body and the dead body? When the body dies, something is missing. All of the constituents of the body are there, but still we recognize that the body is dead. So what is that force, energy, what is that constituent that's missing? Where is your department for studying that? And of course there wasn't one. But that's the most important department of knowledge. Therefore Krishna says, Adhyatma Vidya, Vidyana, of all kinds of science or education. The most important item of education is to understand the spirit soul. And one has to understand the spirit soul from someone who is Visharada, expert. Upadekshanti te gyanam gyaninas tattva darshana. One should understand the science from an expert. So this is the beginning of, or the introduction to what will be a long series of questions. Among these questions, the colors and identities of the various incarnations is often referred to because in that exchange, the Kali Yuga avatars particularly identified Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishna Sangopangastra Parshadam Yagyai Sankirtana Praya Yujantihi Sumedasa. Intelligent people will understand that the Kali Yuga avatar is golden and that he's always propagating the Sankirtan movement in In other words, the Kali Yuga avatar is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All right, we can stop here and see what kind of questions there might be.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Wonderful class. Dear devotees, time for perfect questions and perfect answers. Please. Vasudev Prabhu ki jai.
Don't worry if the questions aren't perfect, the answers, Hare Krishna, we'll do our best.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for your class. I wanted to ask, how can we have a transformation in our bhakti where instead of it we come from a practice to starting to feel more a lot, having emotions for Krishna. How can we make that transition in our bhakti much quicker?
Well, it's not just a transition, and feeling is not the essence of everything. Of course, we want that love for Krishna, but love is also manifest by practical activity. Srila Prabhupada in the Upadeshamrita, one of my favorite lines, Prabhupada said that devotion, that bhakti is not sentimental speculation or imaginative ecstasy. Its essence is practical activity in the service of the Lord. We see that in Srila Prabhupada's career also. He wasn't just relishing feelings of Krishna consciousness. He was doing something. One time, it was an airport in London, arrival maybe, I think, I remember it that way, but someplace, Prabhupada said that I've come because I love Vasudeva. So this is a practical sign that one loves Vasudeva, that one wants to serve Vasudeva. It's not just feeling, but it's action. So one thing is that, so by serving the spiritual master, that's really the key. We were discussing this last night, some devotees here, that Srila Prabhupada, among the bhajans that we sing bhajans by Narottam Das Thakur, by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but among the most important of the bhajans, for us especially, are the two songs that Srila Prabhupada wrote on the Jayadvaita. In the one song, Krishna Taba Punya Habe Bhai, Prabhupada writes, Tomar she Shakti Pele, Guru Sebai Bastu Mile, Jivan Sartak Jari Hoy. Very significant. Tomar she Shakti Pele. If the spiritual master, if one gets Shakti, empowerment from the spiritual master, or from Krishna, actually, Tomar. So if one is blessed by the internal energy of Krishna, or by the mercy of Krishna, Tomar she Shakti Pele, Guru Seva Bastu Mile. One receives Vastu, the real substance, the essence of devotional service. Guru Seva. Guru Seva, is that what it says? Yes, Seva, Guru Seva Bastumile. One gets the essence by Guru Seva, by serving the spiritual master. Yasya Deve Parabhakti Yata Deve Tata Guru. Without the mercy of the spiritual master, Nagatir Katopi, one doesn't get anything. And by the mercy of the spiritual master, Bhagavat Prasadam, one gets the mercy of Krishna, Krishna becomes satisfied. So Prabhupada wrote that the essence, the secret of spiritual life lies in satisfying the bona fide spiritual master. That's the fast track. It's not to go to Loy Bazaar and study, buy up all the books and study this, that, and the other thing. Not that we shouldn't read, we must read. But the essence comes from satisfying the bona fide spiritual master. And that comes by serving the bona fide spiritual master. Then that development, I wouldn't want to call it a transition, because that seems like, we go from one phase to another, as if, okay, now I've left Kansas and I'm entering the next state. But it's development. One develops one's practical service, one develops one's inner realizations, the feeling, the spirit of service. We're not actually after just feelings. What will I do with the feelings? But we're after service. And if we fully dedicate ourselves to service, then the feelings will come. We were hearing yesterday that Daruka, the servant of Krishna, suppressed his ecstatic feelings because he was fanning Krishna and his ecstatic feelings were getting in the way. So the most important thing is that spirit of service, and the feelings will come with that. Is that all right?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Something else I'm just reflecting on is I don't know if you heard the recent Namras podcast with Hari Prasad Prabhu, but he's talking about really aspiring for Raganuga Bhakti. And his whole breakdown of it, and I'm discussing it with my spiritual master as well. It's like we're aspiring. It's kind of like we're aspiring for this separate of just serving Srila Prabhupada and his movement. It's like I want to develop Raganuga Bhakti now and make that my focus. I don't know. Maybe you have something to share. I don't know if you heard the breakdown that he shared on it.
No, I missed it. Now that you've pointed me to it, I'll go listen. But I can only say that in terms of what Srila Prabhupada taught us, he certainly gave Raganuga Bhakti as something to should I say aspire for, something to be achieved. But he so much emphasized the point that I just made. Without satisfying the spiritual master. And by the way, the spiritual master, and it's not just that we jump. It's somehow if we satisfy Prabhupada, if we do something for ISKCON. How will we satisfy Prabhupada? We have to go through our spiritual master also. And somehow, sometimes in discourse, the bona fide spiritual master gets automatically replaced by Srila Prabhupada, and our spiritual master is dropped from the picture. That's doesn't quite fit with the Siddhantas. But through our by satisfying our spiritual master, we'll satisfy his spiritual master, his spiritual master, his spiritual master, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna. Then perfection. So Prabhupada so much emphasized this point, to serve the order of the spiritual master, to satisfy the spiritual master, then everything will be revealed. Not that we don't practice anything, we just work hard and everything's revealed. But he did say that, work now and samadhi later. It wasn't exactly, well, let's just put off samadhi because it's not important. Let's put off higher stages of devotional service because they're not important. But rather to realize and achieve those higher states is possible when one satisfies the spiritual master. Otherwise not. And I have godbrothers who, left Prabhupada's service to realize higher states of bhakti. That turned out not to be a very good plan. And on the other hand, if we satisfy the spiritual master, then Krishna will be satisfied. And then tasyaite katita hyarta prakashante, everything will be revealed. Just like chanting the holy name, if we just dedicate ourselves to chanting the holy name, we don't separately have to meditate on his form, his qualities, his pastimes. Everything will be revealed because the holy name of Krishna is not different from the name, form, qualities, pastimes. So Prabhupada didn't encourage us, yes, while sitting and chanting, you meditate on this, meditate on that. No, you just dedicate yourself to hearing and chanting, and you'll realize Nam, Rup, Guna, Lila, and everything. So similarly, it's appropriate for us to dedicate ourselves to the service of the spiritual master. And in the mature stage, the eligibility will develop and the understanding will develop also, what we have to do to advance further. Prematurely, if we try it, it will be a failure. Prabhupada gave the example, a little girl putting on her mother's shoes, like high-heeled shoes. Yes, she's meant to do that, but not while she's a little girl. She has to grow up. Otherwise, you know what it's like, little girls putting on their mother's high-heeled shoes. It's like a farce. It's a little...
They're falling over.
Yes,
they fall down.
Yes, they topple. But in the mature stage, yes, certainly she'll wear shoes like that also, if she wants to.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's a hand raised.
Sadhvi Didi.
Krishna, thank you very much for today. I have a question about Rishabdev. I remember, if I remember it right, he was the incarnation of Lord Vishnu,
Yes.
He was born in Merudev. Merudev was his mother.
Merudevi, yes.
Yes, Merudevi. Then, because he is incarnation of Vishnu, does that mean that is it okay to worship him because he's incarnation of Vishnu, or just to have respect but not worship?
Yes, we worship him, especially by hearing his instructions. He appears, especially in Srimad Bhagavatam, and our worship is to hear from him with great attention. We don't see that Srila Prabhupada or the previous acharyas have installed deities of Rishabdev and given us some method of Rishabdev Upasana, worship of Rishabdev. This is the method. Just hear the instructions of Rishabdev. That will be perfect. Is that all right?
Yes, thank you. Another thing I wish, if it's okay, I ask is I too listened to this Namras interview, and he said something that made me. We should. May I ask the question afterwards?
Yes. Now you can. Yeah.
Maharaj, do you have a few minutes After the darshan? Darshan will take 3-4 minutes, and then we can have a little afterglow if you're available.
Okay, but I have a back-to-back class. I have to give a class here at Radha Govinda Mandir also.
Can you appoint somebody to answer Sadhvi's question? Successor Acharya?
I don't have to appoint. I'll stay here for Manan Gopal Prabhu's there, I see.
Thank you.
Otherwise, we carry on with the darshan now, right? That's what we do?
Maybe you could take that darshan moment to take darshan here and then go back to the start.
And so I'll hang around a little bit longer. I have to just juggle the two classes, but carry on with the darshan.
Ashram.
Thank you, Adi Purusha Prabhu. Okay, we're muting Adi Purusha Prabhu. Maharaj, back to you.
Yeah, I have just a few minutes in my juggling.
It's very quickly. It's about the podcast. He mentioned that it's negative that the Krishna consciousness and the Hinduism have spread so much all over the world. And do I understand that right? That it was not meant to be? What does that mean? That it was not right? That it has spread out of control almost? You mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, first thing is, I didn't hear the podcast, so I'm not really bouncing off Hari Parshad Prabhu, because I haven't heard what he said, so I'll just have to respond to what you've said. Hari Parshad is one of my favorite devotees. He's maybe the most learned devotee I know and an expert teacher. So this pertains only to what you're saying, not to what he said, which I haven't heard. As far as spreading all over the world, it's meant for that. Pritiviti Atache Nagaradi Gram Sarvatra Prachar Hoibe Mornam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu predicted and desired that in every town and village my name will be known. And name means my name, my activities, my Hare Krishna movement, everything. So it's not, oh, too bad, somehow or other we've lost control and it's gone all over the world. I can relate that I once mentioned to Satsvarup Maharaj that, remembering that in the early days, we didn't think that the Hare Krishna movement would extend beyond the hippies. The hippies were our customers, and we didn't think that the Hare Krishna movement would go beyond them. And Satsvarup Maharaj corrected me, or went one better. He said, actually, we didn't want it to go beyond them. And that was actually the case, as that we thought, if the straight people, the non-hippies, get a hold of the Hare Krishna movement, they'll ruin everything. So we have to keep it in the tribe. We have to keep it among the hippies who preserve the alternativeness of it. And we don't want it to go beyond our exclusive enlightened group. That was our mentality sometimes. So in any case, fortunately it did go beyond the hippies, and it's also gone everywhere. Africa, Australia, you name it. Krishna consciousness is there by the desire of Srila Prabhupada, the desire of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the desire of Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank
And
you
now,
for your time.
yes.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Thank you.
Samaveta Bhaktabrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.
Maharaj, can we offer an illustration of the point you made?
As you like, but I should leave and give the next class downstairs.
Okay, wonderful, perfect.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
There was a question raised about going to the feeling stage, which is a good question, and Maharaj answered it perfectly. Shruti Kirta Prabhu gave us an interesting illustration. He said that he was traveling with Srila Prabhupada, and he would go to the different places in the world, in Australia and Europe, and when they would get off the plane, there would be hundreds of devotees there. You can hear us, Ananda Bihari Prabhu?
Yes.
So there would be hundreds of devotees there, and they'd be jumping and screaming and crying and throwing themselves on the ground. And Shruti Kirti said he was walking behind Srila Prabhupada, just carrying the suitcase, and he was just amazed at what the deep feelings and ecstatic emotions that everyone was exhibiting. And he was saying, I'm with Prabhupada all the time, but I'm not weeping, and I'm not, feeling these extreme feelings. And then he said that, so that day when he was giving Prabhupada massage, he said, Prabhupada, I'm just dried up like a raisin. I have no juice. And all these devotees, they're so sweet and so have such wonderful, loving emotions, crying and everything. And he said, Prabhupada didn't say anything. So he went to go get Srila Prabhupada's prasadam, and he said, I think I just kill myself. I'm useless. I have no experience of these wonderful feelings that everybody has. And then he went back into Srila Prabhupada's room, and Prabhupada looked at him and said, just do your service to your spiritual master. We're not seeking bliss. Bliss may come, it may not come. But the point is, let us do our service to our spiritual master. And like Mara said, what will come when Krishna gives. But that's not our goal. Our goal is to please the Guru. By the grace of the spiritual master, we get the grace of Krishna. By pleasing the spiritual master, we please the entire Sampradaya and the Supreme Lord. At least that's what Prabhupada told us, and Shruti Kirti's realizations seem to be very clear. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Adipusha Prabhu. Would anyone like to speak in line with Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra? Madan Gopal Prabhu, you're here. Would you like to speak? No problem if not. Just
Hare Krishna. I heard the podcast. I liked it very much. There are certain elements of it that I couldn't quite grasp, but that's normal for me. The notions of that it's okay to have a secret relationship with Raganuga Bhakta, like you don't have to check with your guru. Sometimes you're better off not checking. That found that a little unusual. If you heard it, I think that's what's being said. There are statements, I think, like Maharaj alluded to. There are at least secondhand memories of Srila Prabhupada where devotees have said that Prabhupada very famously declared, book distribution is in the mood of the gopis. Because the gopis, what they do is to go out, when they bring the manjaris, they push them for, no, you serve Krishna, I'll do later, for you go first. So he said that's the mood of book distributors, that they want to bring others to Krishna first, push them toward Krishna. So when you hear things like that, you just realize it's not that book distribution is a lesser rasa or is less raganuga than someone who's doing 8 hours a day meditating on the pastimes of Krishna and the gopis. So it's the way many devotees remember Prabhupada would frame the selfless service to the Guru, going out distributing prasadam, going out distributing the holy name, giving, opening temples and things like that. Yes, a lot of that is tied with Vaidhi, but then if you put your heart in the right perspective and you see this is the mood of the gopis and you see this mood of Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu's bhakti was Raganuga. It wasn't Vaidhi bhakti. What did Mahaprabhu do? He went to the streets and chant. Haridas Thakur bhakti was not a lesser non-Raganuga. But what did he do? He went out and chanted with Nityananda Prabhu, gave it to Jagai Madai. You think that Nityananda Prabhu going and risking his getting injured and things like that among the drunkards was not Raganuga? It is. So when the devotees go out, what makes it Raganuga is that you get excited about it in a spontaneous way, and you realize this is pleasing to the Lord, pleases the gopis, pleases Krishna, pleases Radharani. And read from that perspective, that's what makes it Raganuga, not the specific action itself, but the perspective with which you approach it. And so anyway, it's not my opinion. I'm trying to articulate my understanding from what different senior devotees have expressed and how Prabhupada has said certain things. It's not that it's my opinion, this is Raganuga. I'm just trying to say what I've understood. It's not my opinion as such. So at the same time, we should not think that we should be avoiding Raganuga concepts altogether. That's not true. Prabhupada gave all those details in Nectar of Devotion. He's given, even Krishna book, which he wrote so early on, he's given so many details, of what we should meditate on and how we want to progress. Of course, first deserve then desire, that idea is there, that don't just jump into otherwise it'll become sahajiya. We'll take it cheaply. And you're not even following the principles, and you also want to get into the dance of the rasa and the circle of Krishna. But when we become mature, like Maharaj said, like the little girl with the high heels, the maturity does come, but it only come if we continue with that consistency and the progressive nature of seeking purity. So this is how I've understood it. And the more we read the Nectar of Devotion, the more things do become clearer. Even cultivating things like gratitude. It's not a non-raganuga cultivation. Gratitude is one of Krishna's qualities. And that Prabhupada goes on, he explains that in Nectar of Devotion. It's one of his 64 qualities. It's listed, what it means, how he expresses it. When Draupadi, Krishna had a little paper cut or whatever, little cut, Draupadi quickly tore a little piece of her sari and made a little band-aid out of it and tied Krishna's finger. And Krishna says, I'll never forget that. And when Draupadi needed sari, he gave an unlimited sari to her. You see, and reciprocation. So those kind of things are not bereft of the Raganuga spirit. We can meditate on them. We can think about them as we do our service. And we can pray that our service become more spontaneous. And that eagerness in seeking it is in itself a Raganuga, a form, is what I understand. But this is, the subject is very lofty. I cannot claim to understand it very fully at all. But this is how I have, from what I've read, I have come to conclude. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Madan Gopal Prabhu, for such a wonderful, balanced, and Shastric answer, as always.
I really appreciate your point of, does somebody else want to speak? I really appreciate, okay, Anupana. I just want to say I appreciate the point of a gratitude. That's an emotion in itself, and starting to have emotions of, I see this as like more preliminary to love these higher states, but gratitude, so beautiful to feel that for Krishna.
I think that's what it's about, the feeling. Of course, Maharaj said, don't run just after the feeling. The feeling will come if you do your sincere work, but feeling is a big part of it too. Prabhupada said there's a difference between someone chanting and someone chanting with feeling. There's a feelingly, right? That's important. How can we chant feelingly if you don't have feelings? So in that 4 gates seminar that I gave on japa, I talk about 4 feelings that are more accessible than just love. We can't access love, but we can access remorse. Acharyas teach us to be remorseful. Appreciate Krishna's beauty, his brilliance. Gratitude, we just talked about that. And affection, natural affection that comes when we see paintings of Krishna. So remorse, appreciation, gratitude, affection. It spells something. You can figure out what that spells, but that's the path.
Yeah, and this is my...
What does that spell, the acronym?
Is it?
Remorse, appreciation, gratitude, and affection.
Raga?
So that's the Raga path.
Yeah, there you go, Raganuga Bhakti. And and that makes sense. That's the beginning of it, having these emotions, because we're emotional beings. And that's my experience. If I'm chanting or doing anything without emotion, I have a hard time having enthusiasm to continue to do it. From just the psychological conception of this is what I'm supposed to do and this is what I meant to do. But when I start to have emotions of feeling appreciation, like you're saying, or gratitude or remorse, Krishna, I'm so sorry, I've been so neglecting you my whole life. And then more feelings and chanting come.
Yes. Now, feelings are not unimportant. When you try to remember somebody, say, many years ago, you had a relationship with somebody, you don't remember what they said, but you never forget how they made you feel. Yeah. Why is that? Because emotions are very deep. They're very deeply rooted with our psyche, our consciousness, our hearts. Yes, Anupama Prabhu has a hand up for a bit. If you want to share some thoughts, Anupama Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my obeisances. So I was reflecting on this point, and I was in Govardhan with my spiritual master last year, and we went to Radhakund, and I remember feeling very out of place there. And we were reciting the Upadeshamrita there on the banks, and you see the progression, and it discusses how Radhakund is the highest place in the spiritual world in all of existence, basically. And I was just thinking, how can I relate to this as somebody who's so conditioned and unfortunate and so far away from pure love of Krishna in a lot of ways. And then my spiritual master reminded me something that for a few years now, I've been distributing books, and one of the main books that I've given out over the years as a small book is the Upadeshamrita, which is the book that Rupa Goswami wrote on the banks of that Radhakund. And so I had this revelation that despite the fact that I'm so far away on one level from the kinds of emotions and intimacy that is there at a place like the Radhakund, that so many devotees feel there, at the same time, I'm so intimately connected with it through service that my spiritual master has given me of distributing Srila Prabhupada's books, and specifically in giving out that book, Upadeshamrita, which takes people from step one, which is finding a spiritual master, finding someone who's bona fide, all the way up to being there on the banks of the Radhakund and ultimately experiencing what it means to actually serve Krishna in love and affection. So it was an incredible realization that, despite distance, apparent distance in one sense, through service to Srila Prabhupada, to Rupa Goswami, to our spiritual masters, especially in the form of giving out these books that was so important to Prabhupada, then there's no distance at all. You have that intimacy, and you've been recognized by Rupa Goswami, and you have a claim to being there at the Radhakund.
Nice. You know, there's a everybody's already explained this, but developmental stage. Can anybody hear me? Developmental stage. You hear me, Anupam? Yeah, we had a guest. She had to bring her son to a therapist. He had some physical therapy, and the teenage daughter was there. And the mother mentioned to the doctor, you know, my daughter wants to play basketball, but she's not very coordinated, and she really wants to do this. So the therapist asked the mother, when your daughter was learning to walk, did she crawl first or did she walk? And the mother said, actually, it's funny you should ask that because she never went through a crawling stage. So the therapist advised the daughter to get on her hands and knees and crawl on the ground like a baby crawls, right? And so she did that every day, and then she's playing college basketball now. So when you neglect the developmental stage, sometimes you can't get. So Vaidhi Bhakti is a practice based on instruction. Do like this, do like this, do like this, and then gradually, by going through that developmental stage, Krishna can help us come to the spontaneous stage. At least that's what I've heard. Anyway, glory to Prabhupada. Let's not neglect the developmental stages and just jump to like Sahaja, oh, I'm in ecstasy and rolling on the ground and crying, and you know, it's artificial. But it's we like Mara said, we aspire for that. We look forward to that. Uh-oh. Somebody else talking.
Thank you, Hari
I think it was Ananda Bahari's car was talking about it.
Something I'm really getting from this whole discussion, which I much appreciate, is there's also developmental stage of expressing emotions where we can like Madan Gopal was saying, starting expressing feelings of gratitude or moroseness or appreciation, just like we're trying to awaken a relationship with Krishna so we can start talking to him. We can start sharing what's in our heart. And if we do that, there's emotions within us. There's emotions within our heart. We can start sharing those. And even, I'm very upset about something. I would like to work this out with you, Krishna. How, and a very powerful thing too is like, how can I take accountability for something that maybe I'm blaming you for, Krishna, right now? So we may feel anger, but like, let me work this out with you. How can I be responsible? How can I be accountable? Or the appreciation, wow, look at what you've given. Look at how you're providing so much. And so this is like developing a relationship from instead of thinking, I want to get my eternal name and swarup and identity, I want to jump to that. So going into these, just from where we're at, starting to develop our relationship and expressing feelings that we're having that are authentic. Be authentic with Krishna. Be authentic with ourselves.
Thank you,
I
Mr.
have a clip that I'd like to play. If you can listen to this, a proper clip, maybe it'll shed some light on this. It's very much in line with what Adipurush Prabhu, you were saying, that it's a progression. If you can listen carefully.
How you can enjoy the discovered senses. So you have to uncover, you have to discover. That discovering process is devotional service. The more you are engaged in devotional service, the more your senses become pure or uncovered. And when it is completely uncovered, without any designation, then you are capable to serve Krishna. This is apprenticeship. Vaida Bhakti, that is apprenticeship. Real Bhakti, Para Bhakti, that is Raganuga Bhakti. That Raganuga Bhakti, we have to come after surpassing the Vaida.
So you see, Prabhupada says very clearly, Raganuga Bhakti, you come after surpassing Vaidhi Bhakti. But we have to get there. So Vaidhi Bhakti is apprenticeship, but we don't remain apprentices forever, but we have to pass the apprenticeship. So it's Prabhupada is very clear about it. Hare Krishna.
We hope to mention that we share Maturanath's concern. We feel his pain. He has a very rich emotional spiritual life. He's such a tender-hearted devotee. Very sweet. Someday I hope to become like you when I grow up. All glories to Prabhupada.
Thank you very much. Krishna Kumari,
Hare
would you like to say?
Krishna. Yeah, this topic has been living within me for the last 3 months. Kind of this imagination, listening to past times and trying to really enter in and visualize, and then being playful. And I guess, hearing Madan Gopal Prabhu speak, just seeing like there's this parallel. It's not that it's separate, but there's this parallel of what we're doing, like taking care of others with as much love and devotion as we can and being present. I could see this week I did the Dhammadarastikam puppet show for the children, but everybody, the adults really love it. There's something about stepping into expressing Yasoda's love for Krishna and Krishna being naughty and really teasing it out. So I think it's how to enter into sweetness. I guess even my kids would, if they were saying something when they were younger that was a little rough, and I would always say, oh, well, if you speak sweetly, then, maybe you'll get more sweetness in your life. So it's just adjusting ourselves, to get more sweetness and to be more, but also being playful and allowing some of this, the pastimes to really enter into them when we're listening to Krishna book. When listening to Bhagavatam, really listening and also picturing, using our senses to really be present and picture what's there.
Thank you very much, Krishna Kumari. So many takeaways today from class and from the afterglow. Thank you so much, dear devotees, for being here, giving us your association. We need a reciter. Martine, can you get down from the swing and recite the Maha Mantra for us, please? Martine? Unmute, Martine.
Thank you for asking me. It's always an honor. It was it resonated a lot with me, all these afterglow conversation. Thank you so much for being there. So, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Sweet. Martine, thank you so much. You chanted with so much feeling. Thank you. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai to you. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful Saturday. Give it to Krishna. If you love somebody, tell them that you love them. Express your feeling. Tell Krishna that you love him. Yeah. Hare Krishna. We love you. Haribol.